Good morning. I am Edward Fillion, and I am not talking on the assigned topic this morning. Instead, I'm going to talk about what is going on in our world and how I'm trying to understand it in the context of vision. What role does vision play? This year, we've been focusing on the vision that inspires our spiritual movement. And I've been thinking about that and how a vision is different to a goal. Because a goal is something that is concrete. For example, to make computers. It's very clear. I've been remembering a friend I had who was a businessman, and he had a goal. His goal was to make a lot of money. And so he set about creating a very successful company that did just that. But he wasn't very happy. It wasn't satisfying him in a meaningful way. He had a goal, but apparently he didn't have a vision. He didn't seem to know why he was making money. You see, a vision describes the why. A vision describes the style in which we accomplish our goals. So a vision has to be bigger than our goals. It's something like this. We transform our customers' lives with intuitive, eco-friendly innovation. Or in a spiritual context, we promote planetary transformation through individual transformation. That's one of ours. Do you know Harley-Davidson, the company? Their vision statement says that they provide extraordinary motorcycles and customer experiences. So, in addition to selling motorcycles, they want their customers to have an extraordinary experience while shopping. So it affects the way they sell their motorcycles. That becomes part of the extraordinary experience. So whatever your goals are in the world, whatever our goals are in the world, whether it is to make a computer, to raise a family, to teach a class, to make money, to serve in local government, the vision is what affects how we get there. The difference between a goal and a vision is that a goal can be achieved. For example, I want to get married. That's a goal. Now, if the laws of my state don't allow me to get married, then my goal guides me to take whatever necessary steps I need to take to lawfully pursue that and achieve it. And then when it's achieved, I can check it off and get married. Done. But how did I behave when I was getting it handled? That's where the vision comes in. See, a vision can't be checked off as complete because it's something that is ongoing. It tells me how to act, how to behave when I'm working toward my goals. So, for example, if my vision is a world in which loving kindness and forgiveness is emphasized, that's one of our visions. If my vision is a world in which loving kindness and forgiveness is emphasized, then that can tell me how to behave when I'm working towards marriage equality, or towards making motorcycles, or towards raising a family, or making money, or saving the rainforest, or sharing whatever the goal is. Now I can check with my vision. Am I being kind? Am I being forgiving? Because it's all too easy to slip out of sync with the vision when I put all my intention entirely on the goal. I can lose some of the soul of what I'm doing when I forget why I'm doing it. Our spiritual organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, has a vision, and we've been talking about it all year, studying it. And it has several key elements. I've brought just a few of them with me today to share with you. Kinship with all life, honoring all life as divine, living spiritually motivated lives, awakening to our true nature, valuing creative expression, practicing forgiveness. See, these are not the sort of things you can easily check off and say, done. Rather, they're ongoing influences in our lives. If we say yes to them or others like them, if we accept them, then they can work in our consciousness and change the way that we show up in the world. And it's a big if. If we say yes to them and accept them and integrate them and think about them and measure our progress by them. Otherwise, they're just words on a screen or on a piece of paper. So it's one thing to say, I stand for something like these ideas or others like them, and it's another thing altogether to really let them in so that they can go to work in us. You know, we might say something like, I stand for the idea of peace. I stand for peace. But at the same time, we might have blind spots that keep peace on the surface. And blind spots are those behaviors that we can't see anymore. They're spots where our actions and choices don't match what we say we stand for. Oh, and you know, when somebody points out that we have a blind spot, it can be very disturbing. Because it can be a surprise. What do you mean I don't act peacefully? I just went to the Center for Spiritual Living and I heard a whole message about peace. I just sang the peace song. I've got a bumper sticker on my car. It says peace. Don't mind that I'm yelling at you because you pointed out that I may be acting in a way that is not peaceful. In a way that I've stopped seeing. See, it takes sincere, honest self-evaluation to look in like that. As a nation, we are really struggling with that dissonance right now. We're looking at where our behavior doesn't match our nation's vision of equality and freedom and inalienable rights for all. That's our vision as a nation. And we are being called to ask, do we behave like it's true? And social media, information sharing, cell phone videos, technology and the internet, it's making it more and more difficult for us to ignore our blind spots. There's just nowhere to hide from them anymore. And we are discovering that we have blind spots when it comes to equality. We have blind spots when it comes to equal rights. We have blind spots when it comes to equal freedom. And one annoying way that blind spots show up is in the form of privilege. And again, it can make a person very defensive to ask them to consider that they might be behaving in a privileged way that doesn't match the vision of equality and freedom and equal rights for all. Very annoying. But that's exactly how we change our thinking. To look at the difficult things and to ask, how am I resolving them? With loving kindness? With forgiveness? I've been doing that. I've been looking at my thinking, and I've been learning a lot. I've been learning that I belong to some overprivileged groups. And also I belong to some underprivileged groups. We all do. Everyone has a different mixture of privilege biases. And I've been learning that when I'm not aware of my privileges, I can sometimes act in unconscious ways that are not in sync with my desire to contribute to a world that works for everyone. Let me illustrate it. I am a naturalized citizen of the United States of America. So the privilege of serving as President of the United States is not available to me. In that regard, I have less privilege. I was born into a lower middle class, but relatively financially stable family. So my education, my health, future opportunities were all pretty much guaranteed by my birth in ways that are simply not available to others who have had to struggle to attain what I could have taken for granted and did. In this regard, I have more privilege. I was born white. So I pretty much could and still can expect to have my existence endorsed by the media, represented in movies, on advertising, defended and validated everywhere all of the time in ways that are simply not available to others who have had to struggle to experience equal treatment and representation. I was not born heterosexual. If you are born heterosexual, then all of your life you have had rights assured, protected by the state. Rights that non-heterosexual people have had to go to the Supreme Court to secure. Your life has been legal since your birth. Your life has been considered normal and natural since you were born in ways that some people have never experienced. If you're male, you can make assumptions about your safety in the world that are pretty accurate. You can move around the planet in relative safety in ways that are simply not possible or available to people of other genders. And so it goes. On and on. There are all kinds of privileges that you may or may not belong to. The privilege of gender, the privilege of being in a relationship, the privilege of being attractive, the privilege of being wealthy, the privilege of being Christian, and many others. And the more privileged group a person belongs to, the more important it is, in my opinion, for them, for us, for me, to examine my blind spots to see if I'm staying true to the vision of unity, equality, or whatever the vision is. Am I treating people who are not in my privileged group equally? Do I think about people who are not in my privileged group equally? Getting back to the vision of Centers for Spiritual Living, you know, when it first came out, some people reacted to it quite strongly, saying, we can't achieve that. There's no way to do that. It's unreasonable. And if you want evidence, just look at what's going on in the world today in Louisiana, in Texas, in Minnesota. And you'll see that things in the world seem to be going in the opposite direction from the vision, not closer to it. And the question in many people's heart is, what is going on? I think that what is going on is that the vision of unity, equality, and freedom, both in our movement and in our nation, is forcing our blind spots out into the open in the most uncomfortable and unfortunate way. Because the vision cannot come into being while we behave in ways that are opposite to it. Something has to change. This is a good time to be concerned. But it is not a good time to become hopeless. When I feel hopeless, I turn to one of my favorite passages in The Science of Mind, written by Ernest Holmes, and it goes like this. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we do not know the truth. When things look the worst, that is the supreme moment to demonstrate, to prove to ourselves that there are no obstructions to the operation of truth or obstructions to the vision. It goes on to say that the best time to practice our spirituality, to pray and to meditate, is when things are the worst. And it goes on to say that when we can throw ourselves into this work with complete abandon and cut loose from all apparent moorings, that's what it says. When we can cut loose from that, we will be rewarded with the fruit of our work. I love that. I love that reminder. Don't desert the truth or the vision because things are in turmoil. After all, things may very well be in turmoil because the truth is so important to us. I think we are being prompted to adjust our behavior to match the vision. And I love that phrase, cut loose from all apparent moorings. I take it to mean I've got to step outside of my comfort zone. Cut loose from all the things that keep me stuck and stationary, all the things that inhibit progress, and go in the direction of the vision. It may be uncomfortable. It may be inconvenient. It may be disturbing, but I've got to go. Here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Rosa, we have a vision. We have many visions. One of them is to be inclusive and diverse. Well, you know, it's not easy to be diverse if you're not willing to change. It's not easy to be inclusive if you're not willing to include. See, it's one thing to say, we are inclusive. It's another thing to act inclusively. And you know, if you say something like, we are inclusive, oh, you're going to set something in motion. It's going to start to work, and you're going to meet your blind spots. You're going to bump into them. You're going to find the places where you are not really willing to include. You know, today, for the very first time, we are having simultaneous Spanish interpretation of this very message. And when we started it, working towards it, we started to discover the issues that we are blind to. The first thing we discovered is that we have nothing here to welcome Spanish-speaking people. We couldn't even translate the welcome package that we handed out because everything in it refers to events and experiences that are in English. So our vision of diversity and inclusivity is disturbing us and making us realize that it is just not enough to announce we are inclusive. We actually have to be inclusive. And so we are learning. We have a long way to go to become welcoming. It is not enough for a nation to say, all people are equal. We have to actually treat people equally. Well, that's the whole point of a vision. to disturb us out of our stuck places, to break open the mold, to be larger than where we are now, to be so large that it drags us through our stuck places into the freedom we say is so important. My colleague in Seattle, Dr. Kathy Ann Lewis, she retold, the metaphor of the caterpillar that becomes a butterfly as a metaphor for change. She told it in a way I'd never heard before. She said, it's not like the caterpillar just drops a few legs and sprouts wings and bam, it's over. No, it's nothing like that at all. At some point, the caterpillar is filled with this urge to fly. Call it a vision. And then it sits down and it starts to tie itself up in a ball in which things become pretty restricted and tight and dark. And in that stage, you might say, it doesn't know which way is forward and which way is backward, what is up and what is down. It's disorienting. And then something miraculous happens. It melts down completely into a cosmic soup. And out of that melted downness, that melted mess, it begins to reconstitute itself into what will become a butterfly. And the interesting thing is, this radical transformation, it does not have to become something that it wasn't. You might say the glory of its new self is resurrected from the same substance that life created it from. In other words, the vision doesn't terminate it, the vision transforms it. I learned a very important lesson from that version of the story. I learned what transformation means. It means change, not just ordinary change. Radical change. We are going through radical change in our nation, and quite possibly because we have a vision of unity, equality, and freedom for all. And it seems to me that the vision cannot tolerate our blind spots anymore. In another book by Ernest Holmes, who is our founder, he writes, "Whenever we become engulfed by negative and undesirable circumstances, one of two things usually happens. We either use our faith or lose our faith. It is easy to trust in our faith when all goes well. But the real test of a person's faith occurs when life becomes difficult and disaster strikes. It is then that we need to be still, and I say, and trust the vision." That's what I'm focusing on. Faith in the vision, and trusting it to continue to change me and to guide me to do what is just and what is forgiving and what is kind. I'm focusing on remembering that something new is trying to emerge. For my own use, I have made an adaptation of the Serenity Prayer to use in times when transformation is frightening. And I share it with you today. So I invite you to breathe in with me and to exhale, letting your eyes close. Spirit's wisdom within me gives me the peace to embrace the things I cannot control. Spirit's strength within me gives me the courage to change the things I can, as well as the wisdom to know the difference between the two. And so I live one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, seeing hardships for what they are. I take this world as it is, instead of insisting it be anything different. Trusting that goodness has made all things perfectly, I surrender to what is, so that I may live in peace in this world and the next. And I invite you now to sit in a moment of silent contemplation with me. And I invite you now to take a deep breath in, followed by a sigh. And we use that movement of breath to make the transition to that beautiful part of our service where from our hearts we share our resources to support our center and its work. I ask the ushers to stand. And won't you please take your gift in your hand, and if you've given electronically, won't you place your hand on your chest as a symbol of your gift and say after me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does amazing work in the world. And so it is. Ushers, please receive the gift.
Forgiveness sets me free. Forgiveness starts with me. Wherever I go, whatever I know, forgiveness sets me free. I forgive someone right now. I may not know just how to begin to let go, so I let love show me I forgive someone right now. Let's forgive the world today. As we forgive the world, we say, it opens our hearts, it works from the start. Let's forgive the world today. Forgiveness is the love that I send. Forgiveness leaves me nothing to defend. Forgiveness always gets me to the end of what I thought I knew to be true. What brings me pain may not be true, and it may not be you. I forgive myself inside. I know that love will guide me, for no matter the sin, there's a place to begin. I forgive myself within. So I begin to let love in. Right now.